Got a bit of a regional rivalry in this one as Cincinnati plays host to Louisville. Now, the Bearcats are not playing on their own campus. They are playing in Heritage Bank Arena, which is, I believe, a few miles away from the University of Cincinnati, but right next to the Red Stadium, per some research this morning. So, still essentially a true road game for Louisville. And they are coming in off of just blitzing Ohio last weekend. We saw them score 106 points. They hit 16 threes that game. In this matchup, they're going against a Cincinnati team that currently has the second best defense in the country per KenPom. So should find a little more resistance from the Bearcats than they did against Ohio. And based on how Kentucky is playing right now, they'll have more resistance than they saw against the Wildcats. What was that, like 2 weeks ago as well? So pretty easily the best defense I think that Louisville has played so far. However, where Cincinnati typically struggles is on the other end of the court, and that's where things could get interesting here because we know how high powered this Louisville offense is. They have so many different weapons they can beat you with, so many different shooters up and down this roster that even against fundamentally sound defense and even against defense that can force a lot of turnovers and cause chaos like Cincinnati can, it's going to be tough to contain all of these weapons that the Cards can trot out. Dion, what are you looking for out of this matchup?
I mean, honestly, man, it's kind of unfortunately, like you said. I just think Louisville has a lot of weapons. Shout out my dog, Sincere Harris, though, letting us know he wasn't hurt. So we're big on Cincinnati this year. Cincinnati is going to shock a lot of people, but this is going to be a tough one to shock some people in, man. Louisville has too many weapons.
Yeah, Sincere Harris, who was playing, okay, he played 22 minutes against Mount St. Mary's. Eight
Let's have
points, eight
let,
big points.
let's
Eight
have
big.
some respect now. Let's have some respect now.
It's like this guy has played less than half of his team's minutes, but I'm glad you got to cheer on your. I'm sorry, what's your connection to Sincere Harris other than he played for West Virginia last year?
He said on IG Live Tuck wasn't hurt.
Oh, okay. So he was the one ratting out Tuck.
Yep.
Mm,
My
that
dog.
I see why
My
you might be partial to Sincere Harris.
my dog.
Do you want to take a guess what Sincere Harris's career 3-point percentage is? Speaking of Cincinnati's offensive struggles,
17.
close, 19.6%.
Yeah, no, he stinks. But when there was like seven people in this IG live, and someone asked him like about Tug, he goes, "Hey, he wasn't hurt, bro."
That's crazy. That's crazy to just rat your teammates out, especially when like he was clearly
Not
on his
teammates
way
anymore.
out. Yeah, but he was also on his way out. But I guess I could see how you'd be angry, especially with how close West Virginia was to get into the dance last year. But anyway, back to this game. Uh, what is your take on this Louisville team? You know that Carter and I have been throwing the L's up all off season, and I thought that Kentucky game was vindicating for both of us, even though they sort of let them back in that game. Just building that 20-point lead was special. I mean, otherworldly Mikel Brown game, and even since then, it's like you're getting some really nice moments from Ryan Conwell too, and I mean, McNeely's reminding people that he was among the best shooters available in the portal, and I think Sanan Defrew's been figuring out as well. But yeah, how do you feel about this Louisville team?
I mean, honestly, I think Louisville's really good. I, I do have like some, and I mentioned it, like I definitely have some cause for concern, I guess you could say, with the front court.
Hmm.
But ultimately, I feel like their backcourt wings, like how whatever you want to describe them as, are just way too talented for that front court to not be okay. Um, I feel like the Kentucky game was really impressive. Although, like, I gotta be honest with you, man. Like, the more Kentucky plays, like, I don't know. But like the Kentucky game was really impressive. I think Michael is phenomenal. I've been kind of on the side of like I think Acuff is a little bit better than Michael, but I don't actually think that's a knock on Michael.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think he would be I was about to say he would be my first guard that I would take in this draft, but I still think I would go Peterson ahead of him. But I would have him firmly number two. And if Peterson just decides he doesn't want to play basketball, maybe there's a world where you do consider taking Michael ahead of him.
I feel like
But
Peterson's already decided that. We're
like
still
that,
we're really waiting for him to decide he wants to play.
that is a little bit scary, especially when you see Michael just seems like such a dog in terms of like ready to compete at all times. You know, I think he has all those intangibles and it's bearing itself out here. And I would even say, you know, as he continues to get more and more acclimated and I think comfortable defensively, you know, I would say he might be a little, I don't even like. I would say he's a bit limited as a defender. Like you want to see him. I don't know if it's more of an awareness thing because it's like you see the athleticism traits and just how easily he gets into the paint and his 6'5" frame, which that might be a little exaggerated, but still, it's like he has the physical tools, I think, to be a plus defender. I do think maybe he's not the quickest side to side to stay in front of a guy, but I just buy him eventually getting to the point sometime this year where you're looking at him as like a net positive on that end of the court. And I think as he improves and just even based on his competitive nature and how hard he plays, that'll come. And that eases some of my concerns for Louisville defensively because that's really the only hole I can pick right now. So they've been a bit susceptible to giving up a lot of shots from beyond the arc, and they've sent teams to the free throw line a little bit more than I would have liked them to. However, this is a game where I don't think they have to worry too much about Cincinnati lighting them up from deep. This is a team that shoots under 30% from three. Well, their best scorer, Sean Abayev, is currently at 20% on the season from beyond the arc, only 4 makes all year. Baba Miller's not much of a threat to burn you from beyond the arc either, and the ball's in his hands a lot. Maybe Day Thomas can have a big game, but I just don't know if that's enough on his own that you can really survive this game not getting more production from long range when you can basically pencil this Louisville team in to come into your arena and hit at least 10 threes. And I think Cincinnati can make things interesting around the basket because both Mustafa Cham and Baba Miller are very good interior defenders and they just have length that they can throw at you. But I just almost envision this game like Louisville maybe keeps it close for a half before the 3-point barrage comes from Louisville. Sorry, did I misspeak? Cincinnati keeps it close for a half, and then a 3-point barrage comes from Louisville, and they just blow this game open.
Yeah, I think the problem is like that barrage could come at any moment. Like that's what makes
Mm-hmm.
Louisville so good, right? Like Louisville, I mean, we've seen it play out year after year. It's most likely it comes in the second half. It's most likely Louisville doesn't take Cincinnati seriously for a second and then kind of kicks it into gear, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's just unfortunately how some of these non-con games go from time to time. But I mean, realistically, like Louisville could just be like, hey, like, we'll PK will end this one by the under 16. Like we'll handle this and like we'll move on type of thing. And I mean under 16 in the first half. There's a pretty steep talent differential here. Kirk Kreese is on Cincinnati, right?
Mm-hmm. Another
Yeah,
former West Virginia Mountaineer.
Michael, get him,
See,
get him.
the only I think this Louisville team is going to score with anybody. Like I am not concerned about them knocking down shots. The only reason why I would have a slight amount of pause is teams are shooting really poorly against Cincinnati right now, like all over the court. They're the second best defense for a reason. They hold teams to under 50% at the rim, which is 96th percentile in the country per CBB analytics. But right now on above the break threes, they're holding teams to 27.5%, which I believe, give me a second, that's the 80th percentile nationally. Sometimes I think the 3-point defense is a little bit more random though. And I would say like they're going to play aggressively out there, and they have pretty good size on the wing. Like Abayev is a legit 6'8", and even I would never say Kirk Kreese is like a defensive difference maker, but he at least has size out there. And I think this is sort of Wes Miller's MO is to just muck the game up defensively and contest shots and put length up and down the perimeter and hope that sort of covers up, your deficiencies on offense. However, I do think these nice 3-point the defensive 3-point percentages you're seeing now comes in part from playing Western Carolina, Georgia State, Mount St. Mary's. Dayton only hit 2 threes against them, and I think they might not have hit their first one until late in the first half of that game too. So that to me feels a little bit flukier, but I do think when you look at those numbers around the rim, where it's like, okay, that's where if you're Cincinnati, you hang your hat on that, where we're just going to make it super mucked up and ugly anytime y'all get the ball in the paint. But again, Louisville's going to push tempo. I don't think their guards can keep up. And I think that's ultimately why the Cards get a pretty comfortable win in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's the recipe to beat Louisville, no matter who you are. Um, I think Kentucky's biggest issue is they tried to play into what Louisville was trying to do a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
um, I agree though. I agree. I think that's a good strategy against a Louisville team. You just muck it up, you make it dirty, you see what they do.
I will say another advantage Cincinnati could find. They've been really good on the defensive glass so far, and that is like a staple of what Pat Kelsey teams want to do is they will crash the offensive boards to extend those possessions. So maybe that's somewhere where Cincinnati can sort of neutralize this attack. But am I overcomplicating this? Like, do you really think that's going to matter?
No.
Good. I'm glad we're on the same page there. What's your score prediction for this one then, Dion?
Louisville 107, Cincinnati 72.
So you think that Louisville just goes in there and gets a 30-point dub?
Yeah, so Cincinnati has played Western Carolina, Georgia State, Dayton, and Mount St. Mary's.
They have failed to score more than 74 points in all but one of those games.
Yeah. Western
That
Carolina. Hey, Carolinas, man, we got to see something. We got to see something.
Catamounts, man. I can't believe they just let Cincy run them off the court. Like, what are we doing? No, I don't think it's going to be that lopsided. Hmm. I still think Louisville's going to put up 80. I mean, 80 is kind of a tall. This is a really good defense. Though. You know what? They haven't played anybody. It's a good defense. They're going to cut off. They're going to cut off attempts at the basket. But I'm just going to go with what I keep hammering home. Like the 3-point barrage is coming at some point. Louisville's good for 10 made threes a game. As much as I like Chom and Baba Miller, I just don't trust their guards getting over screens to like contest shots from Conwell or McNeely. And it's like Michael Brown can take over the game at any moment's notice. So I think Louisville gets I'm going to say they get a 15-point win and it ends up being like 85 to 70. But I don't even, yeah, I'll say since he gets to 70 again, but that it might be a slog to get there. Baba Miller is going to show out. Baba Miller's going to get his 20 one way or another, but it's not going to matter.
I guess we'll find out.